By 2016, there were confirmed reports of militants perpetrating attacks against civilians and government personnel in eastern Afghanistan, claiming to be known as ISIS Khorasan. The first concentrations were in the province of Nangarhar, prompting speculation that the group was operating from FATA, from either the Kuram Agency or North Waziristan Agency, or possibly both. There are two important aspects of the emergence of ISIS Khorasan that are worthy of note, aside from the location of the origin of the group in eastern Nangarhar. The first of these is the narrative of the group. In contrast with much of the parochial and reactionary militancy in Afghanistan, ISIS Khorasan claims to be fighting in order to establish the genesis of a global caliphate. Hence, it is an international project at a time that the Taliban are under immense pressure to confine their Islamism to Afghanistan as a core aspect of the peace process, something they claim they have always maintained. This casts ISIS Khorasan as a perpetual threat with no ostensible, tangible political objective that can serve as the basis of negotiation or the basis of a ceasefire. Thus, ISIS Khorasan emerges as a militancy that cannot be mediated, appealing to the very pan-Islamism that was the basis of the trans-tribal mujahideen in the 1980s and the basis of the Taliban's cross-nationality approach. As such, ISIS Khorasan is a potentially effective tool in the hands of whomsoever seeks to derail the unity government formation process or keep the US militarily engaged in Afghanistan, unable to pull out. The second feature, linked to the first, is that all groups invested in the formation of a unity government in Afghanistan are united in opposition to ISIS Khorasan. Indeed, sources inform that part of the peace process between the US and the Taliban addressed the Taliban's commitment to eliminate ISIS Khorasan from Afghanistan. Since then, the Taliban have claimed to have undertaken operations against ISIS Khorasan, thus effectively, from a military perspective, operating along with the immediate term objectives of the national government and the US military. Through this, the Taliban demonstrate their commitment to the peace process and reveal that their objective is a national level objective and not transnational, and they are thus not an unpredictable quantity in the formation of a national unity government. But as stated in part 3 of this series, insurgency in Afghanistan is a local, parochial reality over which the Taliban has little effective control, and over which it is seeking to emerge as a national leadership in order to convert the momentum of the insurgency into a political process. Thus, as well as Taliban operations against ISIS Khorasan, there have been operations in conjunction with ISIS Khorasan, claimed to be by the Taliban as well. ISIS Khorasan has the potential to attract elements of the Taliban who believe that the pragmatism of the Taliban is a form of betrayal to its stated cause, or that its objectives should expand beyond the removal of foreign troops to the establishment of a transnational caliphate, and not be limited to a national project. This has led to at least one attempt of elements claiming to be from the Taliban to split from the group, only to be physically crushed by the Taliban. Thus, the Taliban does try to enforce its leadership over the various elements that identify with it in order to demonstrate to the US that it does actually effect command and control over the militancy, and is in a position to terminate the insurgency should a deal leading to a unity government be reached. Is the peace process sustainable, and will there be a unity government in Afghanistan? The answer is potentially yes. This is certainly a possible outcome. The US sees it as a practical and necessary step towards extricating itself from what has effectively become an objectiveless 20-year mission in Afghanistan. The interests of both China and Russia are served through a US withdrawal, although both will be concerned over the US's indefinite use of Bagram as a large airbase, providing the US with a key logistical hub in a salient part of the Eurasian landmass. Thus, from the perspective of the major powers, there appears to be an alignment of objectives towards a peace process, leading to a US withdrawal. This suggests that the peace process has a likelihood of at least nominal success. A factor that can derail this alignment is the role of Pakistan. If Pakistan senses that the strategic orientation of the Kabul government accommodates India's regional objectives, then Pakistan will predictably seek to inflict instability upon Afghanistan. One approach to achieve this is to use ISIS Khorasan to try and fracture the Taliban while also undermining the authority of the Ghani government. The government will invariably turn to the US military for support, resulting in the US maintaining troops and materiel in country. However, the prevailing strategic priority of Pakistan appears to be the removal of the US from Afghanistan. The most suitable route through which to achieve this is for all the sides to adhere to the peace process, thus removing the reason for the US to have a military presence in Afghanistan at all. Thus, Pakistan will support the peace process while trying to repair relations with the Taliban and the Ghani government, aiming for the unity government to consider the vital interests of Pakistan as a participant and broker in the process above India's regional ambitions. From Pakistan's perspective, if it can bring the US around to this orientation, that is a firm step towards a stable and sustainable peace and constructive Afghan-Pakistan relations. Failing that, the situation is likely to return to the status quo ante, in which Afghanistan becomes the battle space for a strategic competition between India and Pakistan, with each trying to achieve an advantageous footing in the strategically vital space that is Afghanistan. I'm your host, Dr. Omar Khan. Thank you for joining me on Insight.